Mr. President, how should we view the Muslim Brotherhood?
I've known members of the Muslim Brotherhood because when I go to Egypt and other places, I try to meet with all the political people. And they have played a small role. They are well organized. They have ties to Hezbollah in Lebanon and also to Hamas, whose headquarters are in Syria, in Damascus, but who also have ties with Gaza. They control Gaza. I think that the Muslim Brotherhood are not anything to be afraid of in the upcoming political situation or evolution that I see as most likely, because they will be subsumed in the overwhelming demonstration of desire for freedom and true democracy, and I would say a secular or non-religious government that we saw in the demonstrations in the last 3 weeks. And although the Muslim Brotherhood might put together a party, public opinion polls that I have seen show that only about 15% of Egyptians would support the Muslim Brotherhood. And so they'll be one of many parties to run, and I don't think there's any likelihood at all of them prevailing and establishing Sharia or Islamic law that would prevent the demonstrators' desire for peace and freedom.
The architect of the overthrow of Shah of Iran and the introduction of Khomeini and Islamization of the world, Jimmy Carter, a well-known Jew hater, a hater of Israel, a hater of Jews, in my humble opinion. One of the most dangerous men to have walked the earth is Jimmy Carter. And he poses as though he's a man of peace, poses as he's a man of love, poses, like all liberals do, as anything but they truly are. Now, he says that we have nothing to fear from the Muslim Brotherhood. Let's backtrack. Who is the Muslim Brotherhood? Well, as you know, Brzezinski, Soros, Jimmy Carter, and Obama overthrew Mubarak. And we were told it was to permit the boys in tight dungarees with BlackBerries to have a sense of freedom in Egypt. We warned you what would happen. We warned you the Muslim Brotherhood is the best organized, the most violent, and most likely to seize power. Now, they have not yet seized power, but as sure as I'm sitting here, they're going to follow the lead of what happened in Iran after Jimmy Carter meddled in Iran and destroyed the nation of Iran. Now, if you don't know who they are, I'm going to read you the words of the spiritual leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, and you judge for yourself. So you can't say, well, I'm making it up. This comes to us from Der Spiegel, and he's considered Islam's spiritual Dear Abby. He's such a nice man. He gives opinions from the Koran on everything ranging from mother's milk to suicide bombing. He has his own talk show, you see, on Al Jazeera, and he's listened to by millions of people. And what does this man of peace, this wonderful, wonderful imam, have to say about various things? The man who Jimmy Carter says the Muslim Brotherhood is not anything to be afraid of. Well, let's listen to what the man himself. Qaradawi says there should be a united Muslim nations around the world. What about Jews? He hates Israel, as do many fellow leftists in America and around the world, including many Jewish leftists. He hates Israel and would love to take up arms himself. In one of his sermons, he asked God to, quote, kill the Jewish Zionists, every last one of them, close quote. This man of peace in January of 2009 said, throughout history, Allah has imposed upon the Jews people who would punish them for their corruption. The last punishment was carried out by Adolf Hitler, close quote. This is the man that Jimmy Carter says is not anything to be afraid of in the upcoming Egyptian political situation. This is a man who called for the death of all Jews in Israel, every man, woman, and child. This is a man who glorifies Adolf Hitler. This is a man who was not only not banned from England, but is actually invited to England to meet then-Mayor Ken the Red Livingston, invited this hateful, monstrous sheik into London. So we're in very bad shape, ladies and gentlemen, when a man like Jimmy Carter, who has meddled over and over again in the world to the detriment of humanity, now comes out and says we shouldn't fear the Muslim Brotherhood, and covers for the Muslim Brotherhood, and most Americans don't even know who Jimmy Carter is or what he's done before. What I'm going to do is read for you some of the comments that followed this article on Der Spiegel this morning. Carter says, don't worry about the Muslim Brotherhood. He knows some of them, and they're nothing to be afraid of. Now, I just quoted some of the quotes of the spiritual leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. who said he'd like to see a united Muslim nations. He hates Israel and would love to take up arms himself. In one of his sermons, he asked God to kill the Jewish Zionists, every last one of them, including the baby Jews. In 2009, he said that the last punishment against the Jews was carried out by Adolf Hitler. Now, other than American neo-Nazis and skinheads, can you honestly say that this is a man that you would respect as a religious leader? Apparently, Jimmy Carter finds nothing to fear in him. Whether you are a Jew or a non-Jew could ever vote for a Democrat again. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. What's even more astonishing to me is that Axelrod is of Jewish descent. Rahm Emanuel is of Jewish descent. Many of the people who put Obama in power are of Jewish descent, and they continue on the road to perdition and on the road to self-destruction and destruction of their own people. But this is not the first time I have seen political ideology trump race. I see it all the time, by the way. In fact, I often see political ideology trumping race. In the reverse, by the way, I also see that true. I see race trumping political ideology. For example, we saw the sad state of Colin Powell backing Obama. And we saw Condoleezza Rice backing Obama, and you thought they were Republicans. So we're in very bad shape, ladies and gentlemen, when a man like Jimmy Carter, who has meddled over and over again in the world to the detriment of humanity, the disaster brewing in Iran, and this country's doing nothing but paying lip service again to the democracy movement. The very same phonies in the Obama administration and the fakers in the media who were in solidarity with the protesters in Egypt are nowhere to be found. Instead, they're still talking about the Grammys. How come Mr. Tusselhair doesn't fly over there with a flak jacket on and show how brave he is in solidarity with the Iranians? We're seeing no pictures of it. Now, you want to see a country that really deserves democracy? It's Iran. The mullahs and Ahmadinejad are 100 times more dictatorial and 100 times worse than Mubarak ever was. And we're seeing nothing coming out of Tehran to speak of. Believe me, it's a shocker. But if you know how the media and the government work in this country, you wouldn't be as shocked as I am.